Thank you very much for doing this. It's been very fun to be with you over the last few days as you toured Germany for your first trip. How has this experience been for you so far? Almost 4 days you've been here. What has it been like? You've met the Chancellor, the President, the governing mayor of Berlin, many top military leaders. Tell me a bit about some of the conversations you've had, what you shared about yourself as well as about Canada with them while you were here.
Well, for me, it has been a really wonderful experience. There's definitely a very strong friendship and being allies between the two countries. Everybody's talks about that a lot when I meet people, and it's been a really positive experience. And the dialogue and the discussions I've had with the various leaders has been substantive. We've talked about, the pandemic and the crisis that we've all been through during this period, and also the ongoing friendship that we need to continue to develop with Germany. And that, there are many people of German descent that live in Canada, and there's a lot of Canadians here too, as I noticed. So there's a very strong cooperation going on both at the economic level, at the cultural level, and as we can see through the literature, through the book fair has really provided that opportunity for Canada to showcase our country as a guest of honor. So I can only say positive things right now.
So about the book fair, this is really an anchor event. It's kind of a main reason why you came to Germany. And what I found is so interesting is, several years ago when Canada learned of this honor, it decided to make sure that Indigenous artists and the culture of Indigenous people was really highlighted. What has it been like for you to come here and see a special spotlight to such a large audience being shone on Inuit, First Nations, and Métis culture?
It gives me a feeling that we are finally part of this culture in a different way, with our own distinct culture and our own identity, that we can also be a part of events like the book fair and to showcase our work as Indigenous people. So I think that the more we work with other authors and with other publishers, that the opportunities for Indigenous writers will improve and increase. We still have a long way to go. And, for Inuit, we have different writing systems, so we're trying to unify that as well. So there's different things going on at the same time, which will hopefully increase the ability of Inuit and other Indigenous peoples to be able to write even more than what they're writing now.
You've talked about how reconciliation is one of the top priorities during your term as Governor General. I thought it was really interesting that yesterday in your speech at the book fair, you talked a little bit about how telling stories is so important in Indigenous culture and that this is often a painful but necessary tool. And you talked about how it can help with reconciliation. Tell me a bit about what you hope to accomplish over the next few years in your role and what you think that Canada needs to do moving forward to really show a commitment to reconciliation.
Well, first let me say that talking to the President of Germany, he is also very committed to reconciliation, and he goes every day to an event that is addressing the issue of reconciliation. And we talked about how difficult this can be. And in Canada, we're going through the same thing. And my commitment as the Governor General is to make reconciliation a priority in my work, because we need to first of all, deal with the hard issues. And the only way we can do that is by talking about them and bringing some understanding on both sides of what happened in Canada's history, and also to educate one another as to who we are. There's not a huge understanding in Canada of who the Indigenous people are and what their histories are. In fact, it was not too long ago that I remember, trying to address the issue of Aboriginal people as one people during the constitutional negotiations. But we've come a long way from that, and we now deal with Inuit, First Nations, and Métis distinctively, and that's a very positive thing. So it's going to involve some difficult conversations. Canada has to recognize what happened in Canada, not just in words, but in meaningful ways that will help address the victims that were, that went through residential school. And also not just the students, but also families. Families have been adversely affected by the residential school era, and we need to find a way that will allow them to heal and move forward to address the future of who we are in Canada. And that's the really important part, that we start to move away from the past so that we don't stay stuck in it. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we're doing it in a respectful way and is done in a very understanding way. And whatever has to be done, we need to talk about those issues and get them done. Otherwise, it will go on and on.
So your trip comes just a few days after the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. On Monday, when you left for Germany, the Prime Minister was in Kamloops, and he was there to apologize for the fact he was in Tofino. In fact, he said, quote, "I wish I was here a few weeks ago." Do you see your role as perhaps bridging a gap between the government in terms of repairing relationships with Indigenous people?
Well, as a Governor General appointed to address those kinds of issues, yes, I have an important role to play. And it's, yes, of course, to help bridge some of the gaps and to bring about better understanding between Indigenous peoples and governments. And I think that role is very important, because without that understanding, without the work that is necessary, reconciliation is going to be a very slow process. It's a lifelong process, but we somehow have to speed it up a bit without being disrespectful to those that have been done harm to.
Your predecessor's legacy has largely been defined by allegations of harassment and of creating a toxic workplace at Rideau Hall. Over the next few years, once your term is over, what do you hope that Canadians see as your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be? It's
not so much my personal legacy that I think about, it's the legacy of the work that I will be doing. And I want to work through various issues that are meaningful to Canadians, reconciliation. And I put a lot of those in my installation speech. And I tried to address issues that were connected, because I could have had a list of 50, if I had just been able to list them all the priorities that I thought we should work on. But I want to leave a legacy where we have done significant work in those areas that will go way beyond my term as Governor General. It should not depend on me being in that position. It has to go way beyond, going on and on, addressing different issues. It'll take different shapes in the future, but we have to set a standard of how we approach things. And I see my role as being that.
My last question for you, you've now been in the role about 4 months. You've made the move to Ottawa. What has it been like being Governor General? Is it what you thought? Is there something you've learned about the role that you want to share?
Well, I knew it was quite intense. And because I've been a diplomat in the past, I had some understanding of the role that I would be playing or involved in. And I guess the thing that I didn't realize when I was appointed was how wonderful the staff are. Rideau Hall has the best team ever, and I am so lucky to be working with them. And I think that that is not a well-known fact, because I believe in teamwork. Like I don't believe in a place where I'm up here and the others are working down here. I don't micromanage, but I really believe that we need a good team to work on these various issues. And, you know, I'm not an expert in everything. I can't be. Nobody is, I don't think. So you have to rely on others for that expertise.